we also have to make sure if we go on to the next level that as state associations and fellow officials, we're not giving people a hard time because somebody has advanced because of jealousy. And as state associations, we need to celebrate that, and we need to stop being so territorial and understand that we have to support the people who have those aspirations.
This podcast is intended solely for educational and discussion purposes. The content shared within this program is not meant to embarrass, criticize, or humiliate any official, coach, team, conference, or fan. Our goal is to educate, inform, and promote a deeper understanding of the art and the profession of officiating, providing insight that benefits all who love and support the game.
Well, hello, everyone. And I want to say welcome to another episode. And wow, do I have a treat for all of my viewers today. She's like everything for high school officiating. You know, Miss Dana Pappas, you are the director of officiating for the National Federation. And to have you here is so awesome. You and I are going to have an amazing segment. Dana, you and I, our paths have crossed so many different ways. And it's always so good to see you. Congratulations on being the chair of the NASO. I think you still are the chair. Am I correct?
No, I'm the secretary now. So I was the chair 3 years ago and stayed on. I'm the board secretary now. So still hanging with our friends at NASO. So it's awesome. Always a good opportunity to be with them.
You know what? I love that organization because you and I, our paths always kind of cross there, and obviously some other different ways as well. But you know, I'm so looking forward to this segment because I just really truly believe that our high school officials need to hear from you and I, and this is great. You know, I'm all things college, but I'm always looking for new and young. And believe me, I would love to see some of the best of the high school officials just get better, to bring them into basics, to give them some training. But just hearing it from you would be really, really great for our viewers. You know, I think our high school officials need to know that they matter and how important they are, and how they don't understand that, you know what? And I can't say that all of them don't understand. I think a large number do really work on being a good high school official. But for some of them, I don't think they take it real serious. They don't think that they're important. And I think they are. And just in your opinion, what do you think is missing with our high school officials?
So, Violet, thanks again for the opportunity for being on the podcast. This is exciting. You know me, I'm big on relationships and I'm big on collaboration. I think that anytime that we can get together from the high school level to the college level to the professional level, it just makes the industry better. And I think that officiating community is so important. That officiating family is so important, and understanding the reliance of each other to make officiating better is imperative. And I think that I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that sometimes high school officials, maybe because they don't feel appreciated all the time, maybe don't realize how important that they are. So I think that recognition and appreciation is really what might be lacking, so that people understand that high school officials are critical. They're something that not only are critical for the high school student athlete or the middle school student athlete, but they're the next group of college officials. They are the next group of professional officials. And high school officiating is that fundamental place where they cut their teeth on rules and mechanics, where they really start developing their network and they find a mentor or more than one mentor, which I highly recommend. But I think that the more as state high school associations and the National Federation that we can do to let officials know that they are appreciated, to show that they are valued, to let them know that they are supported, I think all of those things really roll into those high school officials feeling professional and being professional and understanding that even though at this level it's an avocation, that there is an expectation of professionalism from how you look to how you act when you're on the floor or field to how you comport yourself when you're not on the floor or field, when you're still representing your association. And I think that professionalism and pride in wearing those stripes and being proud of where you are in that moment, being proud of where
Mm.
you are, being where your feet are. It's that old expression of, if you're a high school official, be proud of that. If you're a college official, be proud of that. If you're a professional official, be proud of that. And whatever that jersey is that is indicative of the level that you're at, be proud and understand who you're representing. And it's not just you, it's the whole group, it's the whole association, but it's also the whole profession. Like we're all lumped in the same box, whether we want to be or not. Everybody goes, oh, well, you're a referee, so you're all in that same little category. But I think that that pride in the stripes, that professionalism in what you do, the pride in what you do is so critical. And it's really, it's something that as in the high school space, we just need to make sure we're doing a good job of letting people know how valued they are. And, it's where they're learning everything. It's the mechanics, the judgment, the professionalism, the game management, all of the things that as a coordinator of officials at the collegiate level, those are all the things that you want people to be really good at that before they get to your level. That's not where you're going to learn how to, put air in the whistle. You want them to be pretty darn good at that already before you even take a look at
Absolutely.
them. So I think that officials understanding how important it is to have those stepping stones and coming into high school, understanding that your first year in, you're not getting the state tournament. Like, you've got to earn your stripes. You have to earn whatever level you're at and have appreciation for that moment and have appreciation for the people who are teaching you and training you and mentoring you, and listen more than you talk, and take good notes and be a good student of the game, because that's what sets your foundation for whatever your next level is. If it's going from middle school to JV to varsity, if it's going from varsity into small college, the foundational part of officiating all starts in high school.
Wow, you hit it on the head because that's what I was going to say. I said, wow, and everything that you just said, it sounds like that's their basic foundation of what, for any high school official, that's what they should be thinking about. It's like being a professional, working on your mechanics, having good judgment, being able to manage a game, being able to communicate with the table, the coaches, all of those little bitty things, because all of those core values, they need that to advance to the next level. And you really hit the nail on the head and I say this to my officials all the time. I go, it doesn't matter especially when I'm at camp. I go, I really don't care what level you're working. Because all those different levels are different depending upon what level that official's at. And I say to all my high school officials, I go, look, when I started in high school, that was my core basic foundation and fundamentals. And what I knew for myself is that when I got into it, my eyes were so big. I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. I'm ready. I said, but you know what? For me, I wanted to be one of the best high school officials
That's
in
right.
my area. And not realizing that having an opportunity to work in the CIF or the city playoffs or the CIF finals or the city finals or our state tournament in Sacramento, I didn't, all I knew was I wanted to be one of those officials. And I don't know, and I think for me, it's more of an educational piece of like you and I talking about it, letting these high school officials know that you have to work at this craft, be good at it, study, because that foundation will carry you through so you can get to JUCO, you can get to Division 3, Division 2, and possibly Division 1. But if you don't get those core values, like the things that you said, you're not working on your judgment, your mechanics, your game management, communicating with coaches. You have to have those core values before you can go anywhere,
That's the
but
thing. So much of officiating is experiential. You can sit and read a rule book. You can sit and watch a video or back in the day, the slide decks or transparencies or all the old things that we used to use. But you can look at all of that stuff, and that doesn't mean that you're going to be a good game manager. That doesn't mean that you know how to communicate with coaches or players or your partners or the table for that matter. So I think that understanding that there are building blocks to making that officiating career, and you're not going to do 1 year of high school unless you are just completely this prodigy. You're not going to go from high school to Division 1. It's probably not going to be in the cards. And that's not an insult to you. That's just the reality
Right.
of it. You've got to have some time. You have to have a trust of assigners and supervisors and the people who assign games. They want to make sure, the job of coordinators, assigners at the high school level is to make sure they're putting officials in positions where they can succeed. We don't want our officials to fail. And we know that sometimes giving an official too much too soon, we're setting them up for failure. And I think that it's hard to talk to officials who maybe are fast tracking a little bit to have that conversation about, hey, you just need some more time. And it's not because they're not good, it's just because they need to see more plays. We want them to be ready. We want them to be prepared for whatever a game is going to throw at them. And if they don't have those hours under their belt, they're going to, they're going to be on their heels a bit and they might get in a situation that sours them to officiating. And we want our officials to succeed. So I always feel badly when you see an official in a game and you see that they're not ready. And if you're in the officiating world, when an official isn't ready for an assignment. You could just see
Mhm.
it. And then I just feel like, God, shame on their assigner for putting them in a spot where they're going to have a bad experience. And at the high school level, high school is there's so much purity involved with high school sport that you
Right.
just want it to be fun and you want it to be enjoyable. And it's about it's about the whole experience. It's education based, it's character development, it's all of those things. So I hope that officials at our level really understand how important what they do is and how that what they're doing as their body of work in high school is preparing them for the next step. But we also have to make sure if we go on to the next level that as state associations and fellow officials, we're not giving people a hard time because somebody has advanced because of jealousy. And as state associations, we need to celebrate that and we need to stop being so territorial and understand that we have to support the people who have those aspirations. And if you're an official and somebody in your group gets selected to go to the next level or gets selected to the state tournament, be supportive. And if you're wondering why them, not me, look at what they're doing. Like, why are they getting there? Look at their habits, look at the things that they're doing well that maybe you're not. Maybe, they're in the gym all the time. You just started going to the gym in October for a season that starts in November. I mean, there's just little
Wow.
things. Control what you can control. And I think that those are the elements of officiating that people sometimes forget. And there is jealousy in officiating, just like anything else. It's a bunch of people who are hyper competitive. I
Absolutely.
just like it drives me crazy sometimes when you'll hear somebody, get into small college officiating and the rest of the people in their group almost like, oh, well, you're a college official now. And they're like snotty about it instead of realizing that that is an accomplishment. It's something that you should be proud of because that's one of your brothers or sisters at officiating. Like, don't be a jerk about it. And if you're interested in it, find out what they did to get there because there's steps involved and it might not be anything that you're doing. So I think that that there's just so much wrapped into high school and it's such an important level and it's what launches people into the next step of their career. And on the other side of that, if somebody wants to stay doing high school forever or if somebody wants to stay doing middle school forever, that's great. Like college officiating is not for everyone and that's okay. I love people who want to stay high school officials forever. I think that's great. I work for the NFHS. But I also I don't want people to feel like, oh, well, you don't want to do college. What's wrong with you? Well, that's not what they want, and that's okay. So I think we have to just be supportive of whatever people's goals are, whether it's what our goals were for them or not. We just have to respect where they are and what it is that they want to do as an official. And I just, state associations in our office, we want to let our high school officials know that what they do is important, whether they want to stay with NFHS or go on to the next chapter. We want to make sure that the experience is fulfilling for them, regardless of what it is that they're wanting to do.
You know what? Oh my God, you had so many awesome nuggets right there because
Thank you.
no, Dana, when you say that, when someone advances or someone does well and they're able to make it to JUCO or junior college or to get into Division 3 and that, you have those naysayers that are like, why them and not me? And I say to even my referees, I go, one thing we have to do a better job of, we have to be supportive of each other because we don't, and I used to say to them, like, if we're in our meeting room, I go, outside of this room, no one likes us. So it is up to us to make sure that we're supportive. And you gave the best nugget when you said, you know what? Don't knock somebody down for advancing. How about find out, what did they do? How did they do it? Who was their mentor? Or what steps did they take? It's like, ask those type of questions, because again, something that they're doing is right for them to make that transition. But the other key component that you brought out that I really, really love too is that, how about college officiating is not for everybody.
It's
And
not.
and I agree with you. You need good high school officials. When I tell you one thing that makes me feel good when I'm in the summertime and I have, hundreds and hundreds of officials at camp, and I love for the ones to stand up when they introduce themselves and for them to be proud and say, you know what? It's nice to be around all you college officials, and you guys all want to work for Violet, and that's awesome. But I always have a group of officials that will say, you know what? I love doing high school officiating. I love high school. I'm happy doing high school. I am here for networking. I'm here to work on my craft. I'm here to get better. I'm here to, if it's not, work on to be fundamentally sound, work on, my judgment, grab some nuggets for how to deal with coaches. We don't, a lot of my high school officials go, I want to learn about the monitor. We don't know what's going to happen with the monitor. It may eventually get, may start where it's in high school. Who knows? But it makes me feel good when I have those officials that actually come, that are solely, they don't have a problem. They're like, you know what? I'm a high school referee. I am happy doing it. I love it. All I want to do is put a few more nuggets, learn a little more, work on my craft, and go back. And I tell them, I go, make sure when you go back, share all of this information that you're receiving in the summer. And you know what? How about this? Go tell a friend, go tell a partner, tell a fellow official, and say, hey, look, you know what? You don't have to want to work college basketball. Now, if you do, go to camp. That's great. But
Right.
the nice thing is that that's not for everybody. It's not for everyone. And that's okay. Like you said, how about, I need my high school officials. I
That's
know
right.
how valuable, and Dana, I say to people all the time, I go, people look at me and they go, oh my God, Violet, you worked at the highest level. You've done everything. And I say to them, what you guys don't know is that high school is where I learned most of my basic fundamentals.
Yep.
I got it working high school, working in LA City, CIF, Bobby Mosey, the late Dean Crawley. Those guys took me under their wing and they just let this bird fly. But it was so nice because I had that support. I had, veteran high school referees that took me under their wing. And they would say to me, they go, you know what, kid, we know that you're not going to be here for a very long time, but we don't care. And it's good that you're not going to be here because you should advance. But while you're here, we're going to help you. We're going to teach you. We're going to, just help you with that foundation that you need. And for me, I make sure that I tell every group that I'm around that I started as a high school referee, and it was one of the most exciting times in my officiating career. And, people look at me like, you got to be kidding me. You've worked Final Fours, you're in the NBA. I go, yes, all of those things are true. But believe me, going to the Los Angeles Sports Arena, Dana, we don't even have the Los Angeles Sports Arena anymore.
It's
They,
not even
you
there
know,
anymore.
they tore it down, and now it's our new soccer. I think the Galaxy played there or something. But literally, that was the joy of my young career, and that foundation I know for myself has, just gave me that boost of confidence. It gave me those fundamentals that I was able to now advance. But without high school, I can tell you right now, I would nowhere be where I am today. There's no
Because
question about it.
you can't advance if you don't get started. And I think that, sometimes you talk to high school officials and you will hear them introduce themselves like in a mixed crowd. So let's say we've got some high school officials, some college officials, and some professional officials. And this happens often at the NASO summit. And you'll hear somebody from the high school space will that will say, I'm just a high school official. And what I always love is how quickly they are corrected by people from the collegiate and professional ranks of it's not just. Like, we don't exist if not for high school officials. So I think that we need to get that just out of our vocabulary because it is so critical. And I think, if you just look at numbers, so we know that there's probably about 100,000 officials in high school
Wow.
basketball or across the country. That's kind of an estimate. We have a known number of 80,000, and that's based on 46 states. There's some very large states that don't track that data, so we're estimating about 100,000. We know that Division One men's and women's has about combined 1,700 officials.
Right.
Your chance of becoming a Division One official is like 1.7%.
Look
So
at
when
those
you
odds. Right.
like, those odds, like, if you think about that, be appreciative of the level that you're at. So while I'm looking at your jersey behind you, you were an NBA referee. If I were to put on that jersey, that doesn't make me an NBA referee. You earned that. So I think that sometimes people have to understand if you're wearing those black and white stripes, or if your shirt has, if your state has a gray shirt and that's what your state's wearing, be proud of that. Don't try to be something that you're not. Don't try to be at the level that you're not at, because what you do as a high school official is so darn important. And I love hearing people from those next levels correct high school officials who say, I'm just high school. And I'm terrible about it because I'll be in a room of all professional officials. I'll be like, I'm just a little guy. I'm in high school. And everybody kind of goes, Dana, you have more officials than all of us. So it's one
You
of those
do.
things where it's just like, we just have to make sure we're kind of constantly putting ourselves on a pedestal a little bit, because what high school is and does and the foundations that are established in high school officiating, they're so critical, and it's what makes them ready to go to your camp, and it's what makes them ready to be good at this craft. And people shouldn't be ashamed of being high school only. There's nothing there's
Ooh.
nothing wrong with that. I mean, you think about the difference you make in the lives of those student athletes. You're allowing them an opportunity to play the games that all of us love. You're creating that, helping to create that next generation of citizens and, doctors and lawyers and teachers and all of those things. If officials aren't in the high school space, kids don't have those opportunities to learn all of the things that we know are learned through participation in athletics. So I think that it's great to have goals. It's awesome. Set your sights on the things that you want to do, but also understand that there's some reality involved. And the people who get to that Division One level or the professional level, they've busted their butts to get there. They've put in the hours and hours and spent money on camps and spent so much time away from their homes, and understanding the sacrifices that are necessary to really excel at that level. But I think just the whole issue of pride in what you do at every level. If you're a Saturday youth league official and that's what you do, be proud of that.
And
And
be the best. Yes.
yes, be the
Be the
best
best.
be the best at where your feet are. And I think that that's so important. And don't go in with the attitude of, okay, I'm going to call 10 games and walk out of here with $200 cash. Then you're not doing the right service for the game. And I
Wow.
understand, there are people who are doing it for those reasons, and we understand that. But I think that why would you want to do anything that you're not putting a little bit of your heart into? So I think that understanding that pride in the stripes and the pride in getting calls right and being the best you can be, and understanding that you're going to make mistakes, but also learning how to dig yourself out of that when you do. I think that all of that is what we need to continue to stress with officials at our level, and just, man, let them know every single day. And I tell our state associations all the time, we have to make sure we're being supportive and that we're training and we're educating and we're recognizing and we're mentoring and we're doing everything that we can, not only to bring new officials in, but to keep the ones that we have. And it's not just one thing. People will go, well, it's pay, or, oh, it's sportsmanship. Oh, there's so many layers to it. So we have to do the best that we can to make sure we're addressing all of those layers and trying to find fixes to those. And really, when officials talk to us about the problems, we need to listen, and we need to, at least try to have resolutions for those issues that seem to be really recurrent or seem to really be affecting the industry negatively. I think it's just the officiating family, Violet, you know me, I talk about all the time. It's the most one of the most important groups of people in my life, and I'm protective of them, regardless of level. Like if you're wearing stripes or whatever the uniform is, I'm going to be on your side and I'm going to protect you and have your back. And officials need that. They need to have that because they're like you said, we're our only we're our only supporters. So I think that we
That's
just have to
it.
make
You know,
sure we
and Dana, you said so many good nuggets again. And here's what's funny. You hit it on the head is that, like for myself, because I'm a teacher and I love training and developing and I'm like you. I love all things officiating, every level. And literally over the last 4 years, I've had my two nephews. They both just graduated from high school. So and now my niece is playing, and I tend to see quite a few of their games during the season. And it's so disheartening. And then my best friend worked at a high school. So I would literally go, and watch. She said, "Oh, we're having a game on Friday." I said, "Oh, I don't have anything. Let me go see who's working." Me, I'm always out there. Look at a referee. I don't really care what level it is. You never know. You find a gem when you're not looking for them. And I think the most disheartening thing, and Dana, and I sometimes I sit there and I'm watching and I'm going, and I'm just got ants in my pants, right? We'll get to the halftime. Literally, I will go down when I really, really feel like they're not giving these kids what they deserve, 100%. They're kind of, just lackadaisical, kind of just going through the motions. Those are the ones that you feel like just going to get their check. But even more so, I've gone to playoff games and, and watching the referees and they tend to, the game is a little too rough, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going, I'm gonna have to say something. I can't sit here and not do it because this game, it means something. I know it means something to me, and I know it means something to these parents and those students that are actually those student athletes that are actually on that court. So there's been several times, Dana, I would go down at halftime. I introduce myself very, very nicely. Most of the time, they know who I am. I'll go down and say, "Hey, hey guys," or "Hey crew, I'm up here just watching. Here's who I am, what I do." I say, but it would really be nice if you guys just showed these kids that they matter. Just a
That's right.
little more hustle. Don't let the game get too rough. You guys, what your guidelines are, but come out here and act like this is their championship game. And you have to think
Every game.
every single time you come out, this is these kids, this is their NBA finals. But you have to give them that. You can't think, "Oh, it's just high school." And I say this to them, and it's so funny because my brother's a collegiate coach, and him and I, because his son obviously was playing, and and it's so funny. I would go down, and I come back up to the bleachers, Dana, and he goes, "What did you say to him?" And I said, "I just told him, that who I am, introduce myself. You never know who's watching. You never
That's
know
right.
who's in the gym." I gave him that spiel. I said, I just let them know that they matter. This is important. These student athletes, you have to give them 100%.
You do.
That's just, you can't just come out here and just take your money and think that nobody cares, because you have people in the stands and these kids that are playing, they care. This is their big time. And sure enough, we'll be sitting there, get the second half, Dana, we're watching the game, and my brother looks at me, he tapped me, he been sitting like right above me in the bleachers, and he goes, "They're hustling now. We know. Look, soon as you tell them you're in the room or you're in the gym, now we see a totally different referee." And he says to me, he says, "Doggone, sus, how come they can't do that without you saying something to them?" I said, "You know what? How about this, bro? I don't care. My point is that I'm here. I want this game to be worked the way it's supposed to work. I want these officials to go out and be responsible and be professional and give these kids what they deserve." I said, if a few of my words can do that, but I give them that spiel. You never, ever know who's watching you. So every time you go out, all those nuggets that you gave them, that's what you have to give these kids.
And I think
Everything that
Violet,
you said, you have to give
you're
it to them every single
you're
night.
you're so spot on. I mean, I remember going to games back home when I was a director of officials, and I would show up sometime and like I would wait until the game had started. I would kind
Uh-huh.
of strategically show up once the game was kind of in flight, and then it always happened that they would see me at halftime. So
Mhm.
I'd see a crew for an entire half never run. And
See,
then they would know I was there, and all of
I
a sudden
can't
they're
take it.
running like they're like Usain Bolt. I'm just like, "Where'd you get all this speed all of a sudden?" So I would talk to them. That was usually the only time I would call officials was if it was a lack of hustle, because I was like, you're making a mockery out of it. Why are you not hustling and trying to get into position, at least looking like you care?" And they would be like, "Well, we didn't know you were there." And I'm like, "It shouldn't matter. You should think that I am watching all the games because I can, because I have film. So understand that I don't need to be in the gym or at the field or at the pool or wherever it is. I don't have to be there. There are always going to be eyes on you, and you need to treat your JV game with a college mindset. You need to treat your varsity game with a college mindset in the standpoint of being professional and working your tail off and hustling and having a growth mindset and doing all of those things to make sure that the integrity of the game is the number one concern that you have as an official. Don't wait for Violet to be sitting in the stands. Wait for me to be sitting in the stands. It does not matter. If there is an empty gym, you should be doing that game the exact same service as you would at a packed house state championship. Like, always, there's no excuse for not hustling. Like, there just isn't. You've got to do it all the time. And that's something that's a controllable. That's one of those things where you say
Absolutely.
control,
Well,
unless you're injured.
you're hitting on the head, Dana, because you just clearly said that the percentages of our high school officials going into college is so small. So,
It's low.
ladies and gentlemen, what you guys don't realize is you are going to really pretty much predominantly work high school. So how about let's do this? If you're going to work high school, you can still advance working high school. Not to say that if you want to go to college, you still can, but let's just be a professional. Let's hustle. Let's be a professional. Let's come into the gym looking like your uniform is nice, you're physically fit. This is another problem that bothers me. I go into gyms and they just look like, they just threw their stuff out out of the trunk, grabbed it out the bag and threw it on. I go, no, 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 no. I took so much pride in my shoes at that. See, back in my day, your shoes were shined. You got your shirt tailored because you wanted it to fit. You got your pants altered because how you looked was the first step. And I think that's something else in talking to our high school officials. And I think that's something that they learn when they come to camp is that,
Absolutely.
a lot of them don't know. So when they come to camp, like they come to my basic rep school, they learn these are very, very valuable tools in your career. These things can make you stand out amongst the 200 referees that are in your organization. If you look the part, you're already at the top percentage. And you haven't even blown a whistle. So it's just showing them those small things, the growth, the advancement, the professionalism, because I think that's what high school's missing. They just, like you said, like allowing them to hear you and I say, you guys don't understand how invaluable and how important you are. We need you, but we need for you to work at this craft, show these kids that it matter, and have some self-pride about your own development. Because there's development out there if you want it. But you have to want it. But you have to mentally say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to be one of the best high school officials. And it's fine. I'm like you. I love when officials stand up and say that at camp because I know how valuable it is. I know how I felt when I started high school. I wouldn't be where I am today without high school.
And
And
you know
people
that
look at me, they
you know
go,
that
you
they
worked high
like,
school? I go, absolutely. And loved it. Yes, did I advance where I didn't have to do it anymore? But that wasn't necessarily by choice. That was just by circumstance of being talented and listening and and listening to my mentors and wanting to learn and wanting to look the part and getting in that manual and getting in that rule book, and all those things. So for me, yes. But however, for the majority of our high school officials, this is it. So I just really try to educate. And I think this is one reason why this session with you and this Keeping It Real session is so valuable because there's going to be some high school officials that you're going to hit them and they're going to go, wow, you know what? If Dana Pappas and Violet Palmer said that this is what we need to do, we need to change some things because, what you and I are both saying is that you're important, you're valuable, the game needs you, but you still have to take some self-pride within yourself and some professionalism and do the work. You can't just want the check, and the check is great. I'm
It
happy
is,
that you want the
absolutely.
check. Believe me,
Absolutely.
one thing I love getting paid to referee, but that's not the be all do all because I love the craft.
And
I love
officials should get paid. They should be compensated for their service. And, I talk about all the time because for so long coming in, 28 years ago, it
Mhm.
was like taboo. You weren't supposed to talk about officials getting paid. It was just like, oh, don't say that that's a reason why people officiate. That's absolutely a reason why people officiate. There is no shame in getting paid for a service rendered. People do that in business transactions all the time, so I don't know why, but it's so important for people to understand that officials do get paid and they should, because what they're doing takes so much intestinal fortitude that most of the general population doesn't have. Not everybody will officiate. Everybody will officiate from their couch or from the bleachers, but they won't actually put on the whistle and put in the work. And that's the thing, like, it's great that officials are paid. They should be. And I always say they should be paid more because I know what they put up with. I know what they
right,
sacrifice and all the hours that they're putting in that have nothing to do with game night. Like that's a tiny bit of what an official does is that, 2 hours that they're at a basketball game. But I think, at the high school level, officials really understanding their role models. They really are. They're educators. They're part of that extension of the classroom. And I think that if officials can embrace that, that's important. When you know that you're impacting the lives of in some cases, 12-year-olds, if you're a middle school official, 12 to 18-year-olds, these kids in their formative years,
mhm,
you're making a difference and you're a community servant. Like there's so much, it's just cool. Like it's cool to be a high school official. It really is because you are a role model, you are an educator, you're giving back to your community, you're doing all of these cool things that not a lot of people A get to do or B want to do.
right,
But it's something that, because of that being a role model, you have to be so aware of how you act and how you look. And do you look like you're having fun? And it's okay to smile. Like it's okay to look like you're enjoying being an official
absolutely.
because it humanizes you. Because if you walk out there and you have a scowl and you look like you'd rather be having your gums scraped than working that game, people are going to be like, what, what is wrong with this person? It's
Right,
okay to be friendly and to be to have a personality. Like, don't go crazy. I'm not saying that, but it's okay to smile and it's okay to tell a kid, hey, nice shot. It's okay to, have a funny moment with a coach, whatever the case may be. Have a personality, enjoy it because hopefully you're only doing this because you like it. So, but I think because you're a role model for these kids as they're developing as young adults, understand that that's a responsibility and understand that that's why you have to be a professional in what you're doing, even though it's an avocation at this level. But I just think it's so important. And I love that you asked me to talk about this because you know how passionately I feel about it. And I just, I love high school officials. And I know in talking to so many people like you, like Billy Kennedy, like Scott Twardowski, all of these people who came up through the ranks that started in high school and
right,
listening to them talk about some of their best memories were in the high school ranks and remembering the road that they took and remembering the struggle sometimes and hearing that full journey. But anytime I talk to those professional officials and hear their high school experience, that means everything to me. It's like, yeah, they were one of us. And really at their core, they're still one of us. Like
absolutely.
that's
I
just
know
the
I
thing.
am. I can be honest with you.
Exactly.
I do. I enjoy, once or twice year when my association there have their meetings, I love to attend. I love
I
to
love
be visible. I love to show them and for them to see that, you know what, just because I've moved on in my advancement in my career doesn't mean that this is not important and that this is important. And I think, those are the key components. I think for you and I listening to this Keep It Real segment that we have literally given, and I just can't say just a high school referee, but we have the playbook as to what your foundation should be, how you can advance, not to discourage you with the numbers, but be truthful with the numbers. But believe me, as a collegiate coordinator, I can say to every single high school official out there that if you want to advance, arms are wide open for you. If you would prefer to stay at the high school level, I am so proud of you. I think is tremendous. Just be a professional, continue to work on the craft, continue to be, you know, just know that you're out there for the student athletes that are out there, and that every single afternoon or night that you go out and referee, know that this is the biggest game that these kids that they're having in their time of in their lives right now. And then you'll be fine. And trust me, you don't know what will happen in your career if you can do those things. But, I think we've done a great job of giving I think our high school viewers, in which and mind you, even on the collegiate level, because the tools that we just gave out, you can use them on the collegiate level as well as high school. And I think this is the true point of this segment, that we've given them so many nuggets that can help them if they want, or just allowing them to hear us, because maybe they don't think that it's important. And so for you and I, we just told all of our high school officials how valuable and how important they are to the game, and we need them. So,
100%.
I just thank you. You are amazing, and I just love talking officiating with you, because yes, we're on two different levels. With you being in high school and me being collegiate, but we have so many things in common, because our passion for this game and our passion to help officials get better, that's our common goal at whatever level they are. And I thank you so heartedly for
Thank you.
just being here.
Well, Violet, thank you. And thanks again for the opportunity. But to the high school officials out there, just know what you do is so important for high school sports. It's important for kids. Know that right here on this podcast, you have two huge fans of what you do, and
Definitely.
support. You have people who have your back and who care about you and who want you to be successful at whatever level that you are. But for those who have been around high school for a while, continue to be students of the game, be good mentors, seek out people who might need some help along the process. And if you're new to this, find somebody that you can latch on to as a mentor. Be a good mentee. When your mentor talks to you, listen. I just think that the officiating family is something that goes well beyond our years of actually being involved in officiating. Those are your people. Those are the people that are going to be there for you, highs, lows, good, bads, and everything in between. You can't put a price tag on the family that you build with officiating. So from the bottom of my heart to everybody who officiates, thank you for what you do at all levels. I say it often and I mean it. I'm not me without officials, and I have a huge appreciation for what you all do, not only for me and my life, but for all the student athletes at the high school level that you serve. So thank you, and thank you to Violet for having me on the show. This was a lot of fun.
The play is the play. And I can actually start calling him my professor, but he's really not my professor. He's just Dr. Richard Waters, I should say. He is a big time principal. He's one of my top leaders, one of my top mentors, and one of my top crew chiefs. And I just want to say thank you so much. Richard, he's amazing. He's one of my tournament official. He works in the NCAA tournament. So again, one of the best. And one thing I love about you, Richard, you are definitely one of my best teachers. When it comes to the fundamentals and mechanics, and how about this? When I need to know a rule, you know who I call? I talk to Dr. Waters, because he's going to always be able to explain it to me in clear cut, make it really easy for me to explain. And I really, really appreciate that. So thank you, Richard. Tell us a little bit about you. Give us whatever you got, Rich.
I'll do two things. Number one, I just thought you liked me because I was tall.
True.
But
And handsome.
outside of that, I would just want to thank you for having me. This is a huge honor. I've been watching the podcast and listening to the podcast myself, and have gleaned some very valuable pieces of nuggets and stuff. And so hopefully I'll be able to bring that too. But it really is an honor to be here with you. For me, I have not much to tell. I've been around for a minute, 20 plus years at D1, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved with you from the minute you started assigning, and it's just been a blessing for me. It's really helped my career. You've taught me a lot, and I take those things in and I try to give it to the people I help out, both as a mentor and as a crew chief. So it really is an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know what? I love it. I love it. You and I have a couple of traditions. Richard and I, we always tend to have our summer we always have our summer lunch or summer dinner, whichever one we want, because both of us are foodies. So we always have a nice restaurant we go to, which is great. And we can talk shop and we just catch up. We talk about the family, which is beautiful. But I just enjoy hanging out with you. I just think you're an amazing person as well as an amazing referee. But you're just so caring and thoughtful. And, it's so funny. Every time you're working or every time you're at a game, some of your little mentees are always at the game, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And that just goes to show what type of person you are. So you and I are always talking shop. And you sent me a really good coverage play that we're going to chat about. So why don't you tee up the play and let's go from there?
Let's set it up. You know, I struggle with certain things like small bits of OCD and a lot of anxiety. I do not like missing plays, and it's funny because I was listening to you talk with the assistant commissioners the other day, and you guys were talking about anxiety, and I'm like, this is real. People need to know that there are certain situations, whether you're at the end of a game or maybe you're working a conference you've never worked before. Maybe it's your first D1 game. Maybe it's postseason. If you don't control your anxieties, they will make you do things that you don't want to do. Um, and so this was and I wish I could be this guy all of the time, but we have a play where it blows up right in front of me, and I don't like people getting tackled in front of me and not having a whistle. And in this particular case, I was able to trust the system, and we have these conversations all of the time. And knowing that I did not see this play from start to finish, and trusting that either the center or the trail would come and get it. And we'll get into this later, but I have to tell you, as the crew chief on this game, this trail, who I already think is a really fantastic up and coming referee,
I agree.
she, man, she got street cred with me on this. Like, this is like, I trust you. Because you're not just coming out and calling things in front of people just because you saw something that needed to get got, and then you got it. So it was a beautiful thing. So as we look briefly at this play, this is the setup. We're going to actually switch to the contact. But I thought it was really important for people to take a look. On the right of the screen, you see a young lady. She's got her hands on her hips. I believe she's white 11. It's a little fuzzy for me. Defender black 1. I mentioned that to you because that's the matchup that we're going to end up having illegal contact.
Okay.
Because I am the lead, my focus and concentration are on the defender that's fixing her hair. I don't know what she's doing, but
Right.
and then the secondary, this other defender who's setting up in front. So as the lead, I'm about to administer the throw in, and those are the two defenders that I am focused on. In my opinion, more times than not, we should only really be focused on one, maximum of two defenders. I think if we have more than that, then maybe we were not in the right place. So that's my focus on this play. If we go back to the very beginning, the way this play develops, the center actually should be on that matchup on the elbow. So black 1 and white 11. But those two players are actually going to curl around. There's a screen on the other elbow, and it goes into the trails primary. So you can go ahead and play it for a second. And there's our screen. One more time, just so people can see. I think she probably starts to illegally contact her probably about right there.
You know what? She really does. And here's what's
Yeah.
interesting when because when you started the play, this actually falls into that area of intersection too, because it's leaving one referee's primary going into the trail, leaving the C's primary going into the trail's primary, because obviously our center wouldn't come all the way over to that second lane line, and the trail has nothing else to look at. That's exactly where she should go, because literally all the weak side players are coming over. Everybody's really on strong side. So it's really, really important that our trail doesn't stand out there twiddling with her hair, like a lot of times we do, that she, she did exactly what she was supposed to do, pick up that next matchup that she needs to get.
Yeah. And you and I talk about this a lot. if you want to get from good to great to excellent, you can't just get plays right. You have to be disciplined. You have to trust the system. And as the U1, U2 in this game, you have to understand the system and work it.
Absolutely.
Because when we go to the other clip, can we jump over to the other one? There it is. So, oh, now it's gone.
It's coming back.
I trust it.
Yeah.
It's like my hairdo, it just comes back.
See
All
there.
right.
Mine
So,
too.
right? As this play, now this player is already past the screen, and the lead is on their primary defender on the throw in. And if you play it, go ahead a couple beats. The next thing you know, when it comes into the leads field of vision, you have that really awful feeling in the pit of your stomach because you have two players go down right in front of you, and you have no idea how they got there. And if I succumb to my anxieties and just blow the whistle, I'm going to get this play wrong because I probably would have called a defensive foul here.
Yes.
And the trail correctly has an offensive foul because she's maintaining legal guarding position, and the offensive player just runs through her.
Well, you know what also, Rich, let's talk about this, in which we tend not to talk about this enough, that you have the out of bounds thrower in, that is your primary area of responsibility on this throw in. And you're not supposed to be looking at the cutters, in which we do it all the time, which is not good habits. Because if anything happens, whether the defender steps across the boundary line, if the defender hits the ball, if the anything could happen if the offensive player steps over. You have to know that. So if you take your eyes off of her and try to get this cutter, you're wrong. You're absolutely right when you're going to catch this play at, not from the beginning. And we already know we had a summer session where we were switching defenders and didn't go very well for us.
No, it didn't. That was one of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we talk about that a lot. So listen, you and I had another conversation a couple years ago. I understand, especially as a newer official, up and coming referee, how calling in front of your crew chief can be really uncomfortable.
Great
I
point.
get that. And I'm not encouraging people to call out of primary all the time. I hope that people are not hearing that. My point in bringing this up is this is actually the trail's play, and the trail correctly calls this play in front of the crew chief because this is not something that we can leave on the table. There's too much contact for a no call.
Absolutely. But you know what else she does very, very well? And which you should always, 99.9% from that trail, she has cadence.
Mm.
She doesn't blow straight on contact because, again, she has cadence because, let's just say, for instance, you could have a whistle on this play. You can. But she clearly can see that, you know what? You're not 100% on it. And you're in your area of responsibility. The center is out of it because literally everything is on the strong side, which is kind of weird because when you look at this, everybody is on that furthest lane line from the center. She has nothing else to referee. Now she could, with the girl coming around the screen too, who's going to get the ball, which she doesn't have to get that first because there was enough space and distance between her running around the screen. But how about, let's say this, let's say that there was contact on that screen. What else do our center have to referee? That's all, because that player leaves the center's primary going around the screen. So the trail doesn't even have to worry about that when we talk about working the system. So when you look at this, it's a weird setup, but in actuality, we do a really, really good job of all three referees staying with their primary defenders that they're supposed to have as the play develops.
That's fundamentally sound. And to your point on this throw-in pass, that's in the lead's primary anyway, so the trail really has no business going there. The trail should be, what do I say, my self-talk? Leads ball, trails post, right? So she should be in the post. She should be doing that. So really fundamentally sound. It was a good moment for us. Like I always thought she was a heck of an official, but her street cred on this play just skyrocketed with me, and I trust her like nobody's business. So
Well, I'm so happy that you say that because it's two things. Two things. You go, this is early in the first
mhm.
quarter as I'm looking at it, and I love her positioning. Look where she is. She's below the 28 foot, which you already know. She's close to the sideline. She has her little angle. Her eyes are exactly where they're supposed to be. But the key component is, first of all, first period, it tells you as a crew chief that you're going to be all right tonight
yeah,
because for her to come get this play, this is that play where you get to a timeout and you go, "Oh my God, thank you," because I would have had to guess on the play. Now, mind you, you would have a whistle because you already know you're looking at this play going, this is entirely too much contact to ignore. We cannot have a no call. But I agree with you because if you catch it late, you wouldn't be thinking offensive foul. You would think that the defender, is late to the spot. But the one key component you said that we don't do enough of is just saying that that defensive player had good legal position, which is great. We don't talk about that enough. That was a key component that you brought up when you first start talking about the play.
when we start talking with the younger referees, one of the things I always try to tell them is, you have to understand when you referee plays, you have to know if that defender is legal first, because if the defender is legal and the offensive player creates the contact, offensive foul. If the defender is not legal and then there's
Easy.
contact, it's easy, right? So knowing that legality of that defender really helps us become better referees, and it's just good self-talk, right? Like referee the defender.
Yeah, it's so funny. I had a session last week, and I told the referee that I was talking to, and I said, no, I take that back. I was in the locker room this weekend. Take that back. Watching, went to a couple of games over the weekend, and I told them, I said that I literally for myself seriously self-talk. I said if I had a little bubble on my head, you would see the little writing like coming down on a fast break, referee to defender, referee to defender, because you literally and you have to do it the whole game. Some people think, oh, you only do it, when it gets down to the end of the game, or you only do it at this point in time. You have to self-talk sometimes possession after possession after possession because you're telling yourself good habits, put your eyes where they need to be, picking up the defenders that you have to pick up because that's half our battle. One thing we've learned in watching video that if we can get our eyes on the defenders at the start of the play, we're 99.9% right. They
Yeah.
become very, very easy. They slow down. You have no your cadence is good. You make good eye contact with your partner, you take your time. All those little bitty things come into play when you could referee your area of responsibility and not worry about what your partner's doing. You know
Yeah.
what they're doing out of your peripheral. You understand what all the coverages are, where everybody is, and we're doing so much better with that overall as a staff. So I was really obviously when you sent this to me and I looked at it, I went, wow, this is a great play because Trail in most cases really would be afraid to go get that play. A lot
Yeah.
of Trail.
Yeah.
And on top of it, to go get it in front of their crew chief, which I'm sure in pre-games now, we have those discussions. Who's standing there really shouldn't play a part in you making a decision on the play.
No.
The objective is get the play from the beginning, referee your defenders, you have an open look, blow your whistle. You
Yeah.
already know. Too much contact to ignore.
The play is the play. Go get
The
it. Yeah.
play. See, there we go. And I don't even know how I came up with that, but you know what? It is so true when you really think about it and you really when we break down plays and we're looking at court coverage and we're looking at decisions, stop making the play what you want it to be because you don't have to. How about your eyes will tell you exactly what you see and you will react to it. and it is what it is. From the beginning of the game to the middle of the game to the end of the end of the game, the play is the play. And the other thing with the play is that, how about this? You could never ever get in trouble. You could never ever be wrong when the play is the play. Because when you go back and look at that video, you're 100% right. So be it. It is what it is, which is a beautiful thing. So I think for us, we're becoming more fundamentally sound. We're being aggressive in our primary, in which we want. That's what we want. We're just doing a better job of communicating, a better job of using cadence when we're in the center and the trail. So I think doing those little bitty things with a little courage, a lot of studying, a lot of video work, we're doing more of that. That's where we're able now to be comfortable and get these plays and have these discussions. So I think it was a great play. I appreciate you. You're just you're wonderful, and I really, really, I think for me personally, I lean on you all the time when it comes to the rules, because if I'm confused on something, you're going to be able to explain it to me very, very simple in a way that I can understand. I'm not the one that can look at that book and go, oh, this is that. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna call Richard, because I read it and I'm like, this still doesn't make good sense to me. I send it to you. You make it so plain and simple, which is a beautiful thing. And everyone has their niche for where they're good. And that's one area that you have mastered for yourself. And I
Well, hey,
really, really appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying all those kind words. I'll try to live up to them. Don't sell yourself
You're
short.
doing fine.
You know your stuff too, so don't sell yourself short on that.
No, I'm not selling myself short. It's just if I'm in a game, or if I have something and and I'm really confused. I know, there's certain referees that I know that I could just make a phone call, send a text to, and we're going to have a conversation and you're going to clear it up. See, I'm not afraid to admit that. And I lean on my referees that are very, very good with rules. No different than, some people are good game managers. Some people are good with going to the monitor to handle push to talk. All of us have, we're so talented in different ways, and it's great that we're all different. But for me, I'm really smart to learn who's good at what, because then I know that I can always call and I can lean on you. I think that's a beautiful thing for a coordinator. I don't have everything. I'm okay to admit that. I can always learn. I always want to. No different than you guys. Yes, do I have not a lot of knowledge? Of course I do. But I still love, and I have referees that I can lean on, and I really, really appreciate you, because you're always there. You always give me exactly what I need. You're able to answer some questions, but you just make it a little plain for me, and which is good, and I'm sure you don't, not only do you do it with me, I'm sure you do it with a lot of officials on our staff, because we tend to know who the rule gurus are, which is a beautiful thing, and it's a great compliment. So I just thank you.
That's the middle school math teacher coming out at me. Make it simple as
You
possible.
know what? I'll take you any day, man. Any day of the week, we can go to war without a doubt. And I just really appreciate you. I know you're busy with the season and being a principal, and you have a lot of irons in the fire. But again, when it comes to officiating, you never ceases to amaze me. You never cease to not have the time. You and I could always talk shop, and I really, really love that, and I appreciate that. And you know what? We're growing and we're developing, and I think for you, the sky's the limit. So I love watching you grow and prosper, and I know you will continue to do that. But I really, really thank you for taking the time to just give me a little piece of Richard today, Dr. Water.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is what I would like for all of you guys to do. I would like for, when you're watching your video, look at your trail position and take a look at different positions and different plays and different areas of responsibility to see where that if there was a play you could have came in on at the trail, clip the play, take a study it, send it to your mentor, have a discussion, because believe me, trail, 9 times out of 10, you have a great open look, work on your positioning. But I just say, keep studying, keep training, keep developing, and always remember, the play is the play. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Peace out.